What's going on, everybody? We're back again with some more NFL game previews. It is Tuesday, so you know that means we're dropping 2 videos today. We're going to start off with the Eagles and the Cowboys, and I think we're going to talk Rams and Vikings. Those are two pretty big games in terms of the NFC struggle. There's a lot of good games this weekend. I think there's Eagles, Cowboys. I think the Redskins are playing the Saints, the Rams and the Vikings, Titans and Steelers on Thursday night. Overall, this is a full docket of great games, it looks like, this weekend. I think there's about 7 or 8 great games, and I'm only going to do 5. So it's going to be a stretch this week. In terms of last week, I was perfect on my picks, so yeah. I'm not sure what my overall record is on the season, but last week we were perfect on our picks. Let's jump into this Eagles and Cowboys preview here. Now, this is an interesting game in terms of the NFC East. The Eagles are 8-1. They look like the best team in the NFC, in the NFL even. And the Cowboys are now 5-4. They are 5-4, I believe. Are they 5-4? Yeah, they're 5-4 going into this game. They lost to the Falcons last week, and it was a very crucial game for them in terms of playoff seeding at the end of the year, if they can even make a push to the playoffs right now. They don't have a tiebreaker over Green Bay. Now they don't have a tiebreaker over Atlanta, so this kind of puts them behind the 8 ball, and they have to hope for a lot of help, and they have to start winning a lot of games, actually, too, to go along with it. For the Eagles, it looks like they're going to wrap up the NFC East. Yeah, it's only a 3.5, 4-game lead, I guess you can say, over the Cowboys, but right now they look like the best and deepest team in the NFC, the Eagles do. Their quarterback's playing good. They have a solid running game. They have probably one of the best defensive lines in the league, aside from Jacksonville, I guess you can say. And that defense in general plays really cohesive. Yeah, they lost Jason Peters, but they've been able to right the ship, and they've put up 51 on the Broncos. So that's, I know it's not saying much a lot now, considering what the Broncos have been through for this season, how they started, where they are now. But they put up 51 on a traditionally good Broncos defense. For the Cowboys last week, the struggles were at left tackle. Tyron Smith did not play, so I know a lot of people are wondering, like, how did Adrian Claiborne end up with like 5 or 6 sacks in a game? And Chaz Green was an absolute garbage can in that game at left tackle. They ended up replacing him with Byron Bell, who actually did not play any better. He gave up a sack as well. Overall, that was the biggest loss for the offense, not Ezekiel Elliott. I know a lot of people are quick to point out that the Zeke suspension is the biggest loss for the season. It's really not. You have to look at the other pieces. Having a blindside protector is a huge loss. Sean Lee on the defense side of the ball is a huge loss. They're looking at losing Sean Lee in about 3 to 4 weeks, I believe. Probably see him after Thanksgiving is my guess. Probably not even after Thanksgiving, but we'll see. Now, going into this game could get ugly, honestly. As a Cowboys fan, it hurts to say that, but this game could get ugly. The game is in Texas, so it's a huge game. The Cowboys might be without Tyron Smith in this game as well, so I'm sure that Eagles defensive line is feasting. Looking at Chaz Green, looking at Byron Bell, those guys played absolute bad. Also, the Cowboys offensive coaches did nothing schematically to help out Chaz Green in that game. Adrian Claiborne is not a great pass rusher. He even said after the game he has one move, and he couldn't be stopped with that one move. So that's a huge issue looking forward at Chaz Green. So, looking at some key matchups in this game, it's going to be straight up offensive line versus defensive line. Cowboys offensive line versus the Eagles defensive line. Why? Because of the play of Chaz Green. If Tyron can't go, they have to do something. They're going to have to probably stay in a lot of 2 tight end sets in this game. I would not be surprised. And the Eagles are going to be able to tee off on that, sending extra rushers, 6, 7 guys, 8 guys in the box against Alfred Morris, Rod Smith, and Darren McFadden. Alfred Morris had one good running drive to start the third quarter. They were down, I believe, 14, or they were down like 17-7. They had a good drive, and they had to settle for a field goal that they ended up missing due to a sack that killed the drive. So, if Chaz Green can get some help, if he's able to give Dak like an extra 2 seconds to go through his progressions, that would be huge. The interior is going to have their hands full with Fletcher Cox and Timmy Jernigan. Those 2 guys are really good and skilled inside. And Brandon Graham against Lyle Collins should be a fun matchup to watch. It's going to be up to the Cowboys offensive coaches to schematically help out the outside rushers, help out their tackles in this game, because you can't leave Chaz Green one-on-one on an island. Our second key matchup of this game is going to be the Cowboys defense without Sean Lee versus Carson Wentz, his offense. Now, you've seen Carson Wentz. He's a potential MVP candidate this year. And without Sean Lee, the Cowboys, I've said it before in a video before, the Cowboys defense is not the same. They give up 35 points per game. They give up close to 400 yards. They give up almost 130 rushing yards per game without Sean Lee. With Sean Lee this year, they've only given up 16 points per game, around 320 yards, and around, I think, 60 to 80 rushing yards per game. That's a huge difference with just one player, which is very sad that this Cowboys defense is built upon one player. But it is what it is. They need to be able to rally around as a team and play as a cohesive unit. On the outside for the Cowboys, they have the corners to match up with almost anybody. Jordan Lewis has been playing great as a rookie. They should get Chidobe Awuzie back this week due to hamstring injuries. Byron Jones is a great chess piece matchup. I expect him to be locked in on Zach Ertz most of the game. Orlando Scandrick is pretty good in the slot, and Anthony Brown has some tough games this year, but with Chidobe coming back, it should be able to free up a lot of things here. Xavier Woods has also played really well as a rookie. They are very young on the defensive backfield, but I do believe that they can come through in this game. I think that the biggest problem is going to be in the running game with Jay Ajayi, who has a full week of learning the offensive playbook compared to 2 days that he had before the last game that they played, which they had the bye last week. So, that kind of integrates you into the offense. With Alshon Jeffrey, Nelson Aguilar, Zach Ertz. Those are guys that the Cowboys defense is going to have to look after here. So our third and final matchup here is going to be the Cowboys running game versus the front seven. I know it kind of alludes to the offensive line again. And I'm not saying that Dak is not going to have a solid game. If he gets time, he can always have a solid game. That's what it comes down to. Because he knows how to use his legs and extend drives, extend plays. But Alfred Morris and Rod Smith and Derek McFadden, those guys the Cowboys are gonna have to commit to the running game early and often, so it frees up Dez Bryant, Cole Beasley, Terrence Williams, Jason Witten later on in the game with play action. If the Cowboys have struggled on their first 2 drives, it could be a long game for them. So jump into our 3 reasons why here, 3 reasons why each team will win this game. Let's go ahead and start with the Cowboys. So for 3 reasons why, the first reason is that they're able to protect Dak, limit his quarterback hits. Since I want to go back, I'll go back as far as 2014. Since 2014, Tony Romo's last great season, I guess you can say, the Cowboys had protected against the Eagles really well, except in that Thanksgiving game in 2014. Fletcher Cox is a monster, and Brandon Graham is great in his own right. The Cowboys have to be able to stop these rushers, or at least free it up. I would expect a couple draw plays, inside zones, nothing stretching out. I would expect a lot of stuff going up the middle, trying to pick up 3 yards at a time, 3 to 4 yards at a time. You're not looking to have big gains here against this team, against the Eagles in the past. The Cowboys in the past have probably ran close to around 3.7 yards per carry against the Eagles because Jim Schwartz is a great defensive mind. Number 2, that they're able to schematically open up things in the passing game, give Dak time, open up the lanes for the running back. Chaz Green is able to play well enough to the point where he's not giving up too much pressures. That's just something that the Cowboys have to chew time in this game, and the Eagles and Cowboys are both 2 teams that like to eat time of possession. They're among the league leaders. So if the Cowboys can chew time, they have a chance. Every drive has to end on the other side of the field, flipping field position on punts, kicking field goals and scoring touchdowns. That's just how that has to be in this game if they want to win. Putting Carson Wentz deep in the hole, because Carson Wentz is, I believe, the number 1 guy when his drives start on the side of the field where he's trying to go. I think he has like 5 passing touchdowns when they have great field position. I believe inside their opponent's like 25. I believe he has 5 touchdown passes on the year. And number 3, this Cowboys defense shows up without Sean Lee. That's going to be a huge thing. Sean Lee's hamstring has been bothering him. Someone has to take over the role as leader here. They can't rely on Sean Lee. I know Sean Lee's a smart NFL player. He's one of the smartest NFL players in the game. He knows what you're running before you're running it. Just take a look at the evidence during that 3-game win streak that they just had with Sean Lee. So you go ahead and look at that. Now, 3 reasons why for the Eagles. Carson Wentz just methodically drives down the field. He carves up the Dallas secondary very easily, and he uses his legs to extend plays, furthering his case for NFL MVP. Number 2, the Eagles defense clearly gets pressure on Dak Prescott. They go after Chaz Green. They go after Lyle Collins and Jonathan Cooper. Those are the three weak spots right now in that offensive line, especially without Tyron Smith. Like, you don't have a blindside protector. Somebody has to step up. And they're able to just go tee off on Dak. And number 3, for the Eagles, it's just going to be plain and simple, playing good football, turnover-free, mistake-free. That's something Carson Wentz has done pretty good this year compared to last season. He's not turning over as much, but he still turns it over a little bit. So look for things like that. And my prediction for this game is that the Eagles are going to win. I think they're going to win 31-21 in this game. I don't think it'll be that close. I just think that the Cowboys, missing Tyron Smith is the biggest loss, and then Sean Lee is the biggest loss. Losing Zeke isn't as big as a loss as people think. The Eagles are just too good right now. That defensive line is one of the best in the league. Carson Wentz furthers his case as MVP, throwing for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns in this game. That running game rushes for over 130 yards. And they just chew up clock in this game. That's just how it goes in this game. I think the Eagles end up winning this game, putting Dallas at 5-5, the Eagles at 9-1, pretty much locking up the NFC East by almost chance here. So that's my prediction for this game. That's my breakdown for this game. That's my preview for this game. I'm going to do another preview. I'm going to go over my notes for that game. Thank you for watching, and I'm out. Peace.